What's up, guys? It's Graham. What's cracking? You know the drill. Short video this week because I've had a ton of other stuff going on. I figured while I'm working on this thing for my wife, somebody sent her these little Oklahoma earrings, but the hole for the holder broke on them. So I'm actually going to drill a new one for her. I've got a couple of book reviews and things to talk about, but I'm not going to do those right now because I want to have some more time to chew on them and figure out how to make them really good. But the big story, such as it is in entertainment circles right now, is about an older interview or an older series of quotes that actress Rachel Zegler made that didn't get attention when they originally aired. But they're getting some playtime now because with the writer's strike and the actor's strike and really nothing else going on in Hollywood, a lot of commentators are just catching up on stuff that they haven't had a chance to address before. If you don't know who Rachel Zegler is, you could be forgiven because she's more popular, I guess, amongst the social media crowd than she is really in the acting crowd. Seems like the main recent movie credit that she's had, she was in that West Side Story remake that Spielberg did, that nobody saw, and then she was one of the side characters in the Shazam sequel that came out this year that nobody saw. And then she's got the female lead role in the upcoming Hunger Games prequel movie that nobody's going to see. And then she's the main character in the abysmal-looking Disney Snow White live remake thing coming out next year that nobody really wants to see. So if you're noticing a pattern here, it's that while she's a successful young millionaire actress, successful in the sense that she's got a lot of money, the movies that she's in are not successful. But you know, as anybody would be at that age with that level of success and adoration and social media following, I don't have TikTok because I have a job, so I don't know what her following is over there or over on X, as they call it now. She's got close to 3 million followers. Her big claim to fame came when she was around 20 years old, just 3 years ago, when she kind of led the social media mob against Gina Carano for the whole pronouns thing. Somebody said, like, put pronouns in your bio, and Gina didn't know, like, what the heck this thing even was, so she just put beep, bop, boop, goofing off, and that ticked off the alphabet people, and it started the chain reaction of events that culminated in Disney unjustly firing her, but that's a video for another story. Why am I talking about any and all of this? Well, when I was around the same age as this Zegler actress girl, I was significantly less successful. I worked in a bookstore, and I wanted to be the next young publishing sensation type guy. I wanted to be a Christopher Paolini type. I wanted to be like Veronica Roth, become one of these best-selling authors at an extremely young age. What I didn't have to accomplish that was the experience and writing skills necessary to capture an audience of the size that those two writers did. Veronica Roth did very well with female readers. Christopher Paolini with young male readers. Sorry for the noise there. I liked reading those kinds of books. I didn't have the skill necessary to write them and capture the audience that might come with them. Pause for drill noise. Straight through. Good. And without that skill set, I was never going to make it. At the same time, because this is what people were doing back in the day, we didn't have these super popular social media platforms. Well, we had Facebook, but I wasn't really interested in getting a lot of traction there. I was a book blogger, and you'd get some traction with positive reviews, but you'd get a lot more engagement with negative reviews, which is, I don't know if it's a bug or a feature or whatever. I personally don't care for it, and that's why I've said on this channel that that's not the kind of content I like to make. I'm not here to start crap with anybody. Every once in a while, I'll do kind of a slightly spicy video, but it's just because it might be something that I think is fun or informative or useful on some level. But That's just not what I'm about, and it's got a lot to do with the fact that I have done it before. I wrote a review about a book that I didn't enjoy, and the author was kind of in my extended network, my extended peripheral circles, and he saw it, and understandably, it got under his skin, and a mutual author acquaintance of ours who has since gone on to become a New York Times bestseller. This is a guy that if I dropped his name, you'd know who he is. He approached me at a writing con a couple of days later. He's like, hey, he saw that review that you did of his book, and I was like, that kind of changed my perspective on the propriety of that review, which just goes to show you, excuse me as I'm picking up pieces that I'm dropping, the adage is true that there are certain things you say online that you wouldn't say to somebody's face. And if you would, that's kind of a worse reflection on your character than it is on your courage or your boldness to speak the truth and not hold back. It's just you wouldn't be the kind of person in real life that you are online. And that goes for everybody. That even goes for me now, on some of my socials and such. But I'm reaching a different audience here on YouTube, and I'm doing something different. I'm trying to accomplish something different, and that's why I've set that rule for myself. Like I'm not here to start crap with anybody. I've got that one video where I had a terrible day at work and I'd been reading a terrible book, and it was in a genre that I don't care for, and unlike most other videos that I produce, that one actually got a lot of traction, and I'm still getting comments from people to this day. It's like, well, if you don't like it, don't read it. Fine, whatever. I'm still on the lookout for an interesting lit RPG book. I believe that there might be more out there that I could enjoy. We'll see. But the point is, I was able to learn from that experience, from me writing an extremely bad, offensive review of a book by somebody that ultimately I knew. I was in a position, because of my obscurity and because of this author's proximity to me, to receive constructive correction for what I'd done. But somebody like a millionaire actress in her early 20s with a huge reinforcement chamber on social media that will constantly tell her she's right, or at least she can curate the responses that tell her that she's right, is probably not going to learn. But the movies that she's in, as they continue to underperform, will probably help her along in that learning. I'm a huge fan of the Hunger Games novels. I've read them all multiple times. I own them in print and in audio and in 2 different languages. Massive fan of those, and I saw all the movies in the theater, even the bad ones, like the 2 bad ones at the tail end of it all. I can tell you right now, after seeing one trailer for this recent one, before I even knew that she was the actress in it or anything, I've got no interest in seeing it, and especially knowing now that she got the female lead role in that. I don't want to support that, and it's just one more reason why I don't want to generate negative content on my channel. I wouldn't hold it against anybody at all if they didn't want to support me for trying to make capital for myself off of that, whether it's social or financial or what have you. I'm very grateful that I've had the experiences I've had in my life that have shaped me in the way that they have. I'm glad that I wasn't a success at that age, retrospectively. I'm going to cap this off by talking about something I read in Craig Johnston's newsletter. He's the Longmire guy. Somebody wrote and asked him about whether he did any kind of like self-insert type stuff when he was creating the Longmire character. And he said no, but there are general experiences in his life that have shaped kind of the tone of the Longmire novels, of a guy who's older, who's been through a lot, who has lived a lot, had a big life experience, and channels the feelings and the reality, the emotion of all that into his work. Louis L'Amour has talked about the same thing. It's, to be an effective writer, you have to have lived through real things. Gary Paulson's touched on this. Writers like Paolini and Roth becoming extreme successes at a young age were more anomalies, and it's because they did tap into something that really resonated with people. Their subsequent efforts might not have been as successful because, lightning in a bottle happens. The thing is, you take 1 million people and they all look at the exception and say, oh, that's literally me. It's not. The numbers are working against you. But the more real number is that you're going to be one of those people that runs the conventional path as a writer. You need to live life, you need to have experiences, things need to happen to you so that you can put real things into your work. And you need to take it on the chin. I'm trying to remember now, I believe it might have been a Ray Bradbury quote that I'm going to butcher and paraphrase right here, where he says, the problem is if you don't put yourself out there, nobody will punch you and you'll never learn. I tried doing things a certain way when I was younger. I took hits, I took correction, and it was good for me and it was good for the people around me, and that's a life lesson that I learned. And as I'm on, I just turned 39 last month, I'm heading towards 40, and I'm not dreading it, that the way our culture tends to impress upon us that we should. Like, oh, I'm not young anymore. I was never going to be young forever. Young's also a relative thing. I'm glad for the life experiences that I've had, and I'm looking forward to the next 60 years. I do plan to make it to 100, and that's going to involve me being in a mindset where I have to deliberately choose how I'm going to live my 40s and my 50s and my 60s, and that's fine. I'm going to be a 40-year-old version of myself, a 50-year-old version of myself, and so on and so forth. And I'm going to channel that into my work, and I'm going to use those experiences to inform how I engage with the world around me. So, long story short, I'm glad that I wasn't as successful as I wanted to be when I was younger, because the success that I have had has been much more meaningful to me in the long term. Learn from that, and you get out of the world what you put into it. That's my 2 cents. Thanks for listening. Drive safe. See you out there.